What's up guys, welcome to the Metal Roofing channel. I'm Thad Barnette. In today's video, we're gonna learn how to replace an existing EPDM pipe boot on a standing seam metal roof. This pipe boot has come to the end of its useful life, so we're gonna take it off and reinstall a new one using the Sheffield Metals standard installation details. Let's get into it. All right, let's talk about tools and materials. Here's what you're gonna need. First, we're gonna need a pipe boot. You can get ones that match the finish of the paint of your metal roof. This is the exact same size as the one I'm gonna replace. This is a number 3. You're gonna need one that matches the diameter of the pipe penetration that you're installing over. But remember, you're gonna need to leave a 1-inch gap between the end of the pipe boot and your panel ribs for enough water clean out. We're also going to need 2 different kinds of sealant. We're gonna need gun caulking sealant, and then I've got butyl tape. This is a compression-based sealant that works when the fasteners compress the tape around the underside of the pipe boot. I'll show you how to install that in a second. Speaking of fasteners, I've got self-sealing fasteners here, and these screws are 1 size bigger than the screws I've got installed on my existing pipe boot. This is important. This is a number 12 screw, that's a number 10 screw, so we're going up a size to make sure that our whole assembly remains watertight. As far as tools go, we need a caulk gun for our NovaFlex, some tin snips or something to cut the diameter of the pipe boot. We're gonna need a hose clamp, or you can use the hose clamp that's already on the existing pipe boot if there is one. You can use a flathead screwdriver to tighten this down. I also have a 5/16 driver that I'm gonna use with my drill to tighten that up. We're gonna need a utility knife, a felt tip pen, not a pencil, felt tip pen. I've got a 1/4-inch driver for the self-sealing fasteners, the panel tights, and then I've got a torque-controlled drill here, not an impact driver, something that's torque-controlled so that you don't fracture the screw heads. So that's all we're gonna need. Let's talk about safety real quick. I've got gloves and safety glasses on, and that remember, anytime you're working at height, you wanna pay extra attention to safety, make sure you're tied off, following all these safety practices regarding working at height. So this is kind of the ideal scenario. I installed this mock-up with the Sheffield standard installation details. Your situation might be different, so stay to the end of the video and we'll talk about some nuances of different conditions that you can apply for your install. All right, let's start by taking off the existing pipe boot. First, we're gonna remove the hose clamp, and I've got my 5/16 driver to do that. Okay. Now I'm gonna switch to my 1/4-inch driver so that I can remove the individual screws around the pipe boot. It's important to remember while you're doing this to not drop your tools, not nick up the panel at all, because remember, this is a finished metal roof, so you wanna protect this paint as much as possible. Now these screws are supposed to be installed 2 inches on center so that we have proper compression of the butyl tape. And we'll see that again as I install the new boot. All right, now we carefully remove the boot. And because of this compression and the amount of fasteners that are around this pipe boot, you might have to work it up, but just take your time and go around the outside of the boot slowly, making sure you don't scratch the panel. I'm leaving my gloves on for this because there can be sharp metal filings to deal with as you work your way around the boot. Okay. Old pipe boot, remove. So the Sheffield Metals detail does call for the deck substrate to be cut out wider than the pipe boot itself, so the penetrations don't pin the panel to the deck substrate. So you can't see it in our video because we had underlayment down, but you can see here that the fasteners go into just the metal and not the plywood around it. Now we want to go through and clean up any sealant that has remained, make sure we have a clean area to install our new boot on. The old pipe boot didn't have any gun caulking sealant applied to it just for the sake of this mock-up, but normally just know that you're gonna have sealant to clean off of the pipe in normal circumstances. Okay, so I've got my new pipe boot here. This is the exact same size as the one that we took off. This is a number 3. So what we're gonna need to do is cut out the hole for the appropriate size pipe that we've got. This is a 2.5-inch pipe. So we'll cut that hole and then move on to the next part of our installation. Just gonna poke a hole in the top here, and then I'm gonna use a pair of tin snips to carefully cut around the correct opening. All right, so now we're gonna mark our fastener locations. And to do that, we're gonna slide the pipe boot over the penetration like this. And the idea here is that we take our new fasteners, our larger fasteners, these are number 12 fasteners, the one we took out were number 10s if you remember, and we wanna use the same fastener locations that we had before. So in order to do that, we're gonna take our felt tip pen, place our pipe boot where it goes, and then we're gonna mark the outer diameter of the pipe boot with the felt tip pen. And this is water soluble, so this will not affect the paint at all. We wanna use this instead of a pencil. And I'm gonna also mark the outer diameter of the pipe itself just above the pipe boot, and you'll see why in a second. So now we're gonna take the pipe boot back off. Careful not to rip it. I'm gonna place that aside for a second. And now we're gonna look at our fastener locations, and we are gonna put a little mark just outside of that circle where each fastener hole is located. That way we know where to put each fastener when we install our new pipe boot. There we go, we've marked all of our fastener locations. Before we continue preparing our new pipe boot for installation, we're gonna take our gun caulking sealant, our metal roof sealant, and we're gonna backfill all of the fastener holes before we put in our new fasteners to just give that extra layer of protection. All right, from here on out, we're gonna follow the steps on the standard Sheffield Metals installation details when it comes to installing a new pipe boot. And the first thing we wanna do is apply butyl tape to the underside of the boot. Now, butyl tape works with compression. So the fasteners are what's gonna compress this tape and actually create that watertight seal around the underside of the boot. So I'm gonna take this butyl tape and I'm just gonna mold it. The paper's gonna tear and that's okay. I'm just gonna be careful not to stretch the tape itself. I'm just gonna gently mold it around the underside of the pipe boot. All the way around, like this. And when we come to the end, we'll cut it off. I'm gonna peel the tape and I'll just make sure it's nicely fitted around the outside of the boot, just like so. And before I actually put the boot on, I'm gonna take one extra step. At the end of this, we're gonna need to seal the top of the pipe boot, but because I made this line here where we see the top side of the boot where it ends, I'm actually gonna apply sealant just underneath this line so that as we drag the pipe boot over top of this sealant, we get a little bit of backfill as well. Okay, so now that we have all of our sealant applied, let's go ahead and install our new pipe boot. All right, there we go. Now we're gonna go ahead and move on to our fasteners, and we're gonna place one fastener on each mark of our outer diameter line. This should be 2 inches on center according to the Sheffield detail. It's important to not overdrive these fasteners because if you overdrive the fastener, the EPDM washer will actually break and then the sun's UV will eat away from it and it won't have its water sealing properties anymore. So according to Deck-Tite, according to the manufacturer of this product, we want to screw in a opposite fashion. So I'm gonna move to the opposite side of the boot and install a fastener at the next location at the uppermost point of the pipe boot. So as we fasten around the bottom of the pipe boot, you can see the butyl tape start to compress. That's why we have so many fasteners in these pipe boots, is to make sure that that butyl tape is actually doing its job and gets spread out over the course of the fasteners. Again, 2 inches on center for these fasteners. One tip when you're installing these particular fasteners, they actually eject the swarf, the metal filings that it creates when it drills into the metal. So before I screw down the EPDM washer all the way, I'm actually gonna back out slightly, blow away the swarf, and then fully seat the fastener. That prevents the EPDM washer from getting nicked or damaged from those metal filings. Okay, we're on the home stretch. One of the things that people forget about most when it comes to installing pipe boots is the hose clamp. The hose clamp gets installed over the top section of the pipe boot so that over time, the boot doesn't sag down the pipe and allow water infiltration. We see this all the time, so don't forget the hose clamp. That goes right on top. Then we either grab our flathead screwdriver or our 5/16 driver on our drill, and we tighten it down. And we see our sealant that we backfilled earlier coming out, which is fine. Make sure that's tight. There we go. And then per the Sheffield Metals detail, we're going to seal the top side of the pipe and tool in. And that's it. The last thing you want to do is make sure you clean off any debris that you left on the panel and make sure there's no damage going forward. A couple nuances. I mentioned at the beginning of the video that your condition might not be as pristine as this was. This was an easy thing to repair. This is the first time that we were replacing that pipe boot, so we could just go up one fastener size, no big deal. You could do that again, go up one more fastener size next time you need to replace this boot. But if there's a situation where you can't do that, what you can do is get an actual bigger pipe boot, as long as it's more than 1 inch away from the nearest panel ribs. That way there's enough clearance for water to clear out on either side of the boot. So if you do get another pipe boot that's bigger than the current one, make sure it's 1 inch wider than the fastener holes that you have here and 1 inch away from the panel ribs. All right, that's it for this one. If you have any questions, comment down below, or if you want to see other details to learn how to install, leave us a note in the comments as well. Subscribe here to the Metal Roofing channel. As always, I'm Thad Barnette. We'll catch you next time.